Welcome to Rich Conversations. I was back in Wisconsin for Thanksgiving, and I had a conversation with my 93-year-old grandmother, and she brought up attitude and positivity. And this hasn't been the only conversation that she's brought this up. She brings it up like every conversation. And so that signals to me that having a good attitude and positivity can lead to a long and high quality of life. So whether you're starting the day or you're approaching a task, whatever it may be, keep in mind, have a good attitude and positivity. And on that note, I would like to share some information. One, I'm going to New York in 3 days. We're going to record our 300th episode of the Rich Conversations podcast. I booked this trip maybe like a month and a half ago. And I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be, love the guest. It's going to be a beautiful conversation with a beautiful person. And that's why I have done this. I really enjoy people and just like deep conversations with people, learning about them and just like learning about the world through other people. And so I'm really excited for this trip and this conversation in particular. To me, it's worth a trip going out to New York. And until then, though, to make sure it feels like the 300th episode, I'm going to record a bunch, and you're going to experience an avalanche of new episodes of Rich Conversations. And these episodes are going to be about life. They're going to be some with other people, and some are going to be something I've been really excited about. I've been working on for the last 4 or 5 months, and that's a new book called Nuances and Notes. And I want to share kind of like a series of how it came to be and what it's about and like what I've learned and you know where it is now. It means a lot to me. It's cool. And so those will be some of the episodes that come up before our one in particular that we record before our 300th episode. You know, we just need to catch up a little bit. So we're just going to take a bunch of jumpers, just shoot. Another thing in this, so that's kind of an update. This podcast episode, I would like to, I ran into a fan recently, fan of the podcast, and he gave me some feedback. I really appreciate feedback. So if you can, or, if it's on your mind, let me know. I'm always looking to get better and to improve. So some of the feedback, he was like, Rich, you're a, quote, cool dude, and you do all these interesting things, and you travel to all these cool places. Like, your life is really interesting, and how did it become this? Like, how did you get to this point? How did you become who you are, type of thing? You don't really share stories about your life. You don't, like, we as listeners don't really know that. So that was interesting to me because I feel like I do some solo episodes. But he's probably right. Like, I don't share a lot of stories, and And he said even, like when you have guests on, you're usually like listening, which is great, but you sometimes like don't share about your own life or your experiences or perspective. And I think that's fair. It's interesting. He really like pinpointed some stuff there. Like I personally don't. This probably sounds strange as someone who has a podcast and has done many solo episodes, but I don't really share my life with other people, I guess, or I suppose it's kind of redundant in the sense that it probably comes across as very like serious, philosophical, very zen. And it's like breathe, relax, reflect, think about your life. But that's like just a part. That's just a part of me. It's a big part of me, I would say. But that's true. I really don't share a lot. I do have a lot of stories. But I think that's another thing with me too, is that I don't talk about my life a lot with other people. Partly because like my best days are ahead of me. And so why would I talk about yesterday? You know what I mean? As a bartender, I overhear many conversations, and I've learned a lot. And something I notice and I pick up on is how people talk about themselves. Like I'm very tuned in to that. And like I'll overhear like some people like talk about themselves in order to inflate others' perception of them. And that is an approach that I do not want to partake in. So I probably, because of that, I probably take the extreme and I don't share anything. I also have this approach bartending where I try to say as little as possible while I'm like giving service. And you can tell like who I know tips the most because I'll talk to them the most. No, I just like have found like an efficient system. But yeah, sharing my life, it's interesting. I'll like work on that a little more. I also don't look back very much, which is one of the reasons why I create these photo albums and I take as many photos as I do, because I'm like never really, I don't dwell on things. I don't think about things. So I live with no regrets. You can't change anything that happened yesterday, so far as we know scientifically. But I'll create these photo albums because it will bring me back to those moments. I call it moment photography. And so sometimes at night I'll like play them on a slideshow, and it will help me think about those moments and stuff. But generally I don't go back much. But I don't know. If it helps communicate, maybe I will. Yeah, as far as going all these cool places and doing the things that I do and have done, and there's so many like combination of things that have led to this. One is a confidence in myself. I'm not afraid to like live how I want to live in a way. I'm not afraid of being non-conformist. I'm one of the most efficient and self-disciplined human beings that you will ever meet. And it's probably not discussed enough. The efficient part is probably a result of the self-discipline. My grandfather was a Marine. My dad is a farmer. I've had a great example of discipline. And so my self-discipline, what people don't understand about self-discipline and discipline in general is that it creates freedom, right? If I do all these things and I'm disciplined in all these different things, I can go to Paris, I can go to London, I can go to New York, I can go to the museums, go take a walk, do all these different things. And by being disciplined, I can be efficient. So there's the discipline part, and then what I've discussed on this podcast before is all the things I do. I do all the things I say. That's something about me, and now I get to indulge a little bit now. Something about me is that I pretty much do what I say, and I'm very conscious about that. I don't like to say things just to say things, or say something to make someone feel good right now in this moment, but then not care about it later. I choose my words for the most part so that my actions match my words, right? And my habits are outstanding. And it creates freedom. It's a long process, I would say. You don't get immediate results in a culture of instant gratification. These things are not sexy on the surface, right? Sitting down and just breathing for 10 minutes, taking 45 minutes and just writing about your life, or reading, thought-provoking writing, philosophy, whatever. I've done, since 2018, I've done everything every single day. Probably 350 out of 365 days a year. And so my life now is a result of that. And at the same time, too, I've been blessed with so many generous friends and family. The generosity it's just been so kind. It's been so beautiful, and I appreciate it a lot. So it's a combination of all these different things that allow me to live how I want to live, and do the things I do, and go the places that I go. I'm not afraid to step outside the norm. I'm not afraid to stand out instead of fitting in. And what I mean by that is just knowing how I want to live or how I want to approach things, and then doing that and not worrying about outside, external, and other people, it doesn't matter to me. And at the same time, I've found the more you do that, the more it pays off, right? Like if you think about it's like zagging where everybody else is zigging. Or if you look at American society, if you look at supply and demand, right? Like economics, if everybody is doing this, right? So if the demand is high, there's a limited supply, and so things are going to be more expensive, right? If over here the demand is low, the cost is going to be low. But the demand is only that way because it's the perception of things, right? What is trendy or popular or whatever. So I've been really great at exploiting that and exploiting it in a positive way. But it's about finding the nuances in life and using mental agility to figure things out. It comes down to thinking for yourself, about yourself. That's how you're able to live a life that I've been living, is like taking the time to think about who you are, what you want, and everything in life then just like becomes easier. I don't know why more people don't do it. Because it's not instant. That's the thing. And we're in our heads so much. And like what I try to practice is clearing my mind all the time, and so my decisions are very precise. And my actions are very intentional. Everything I do is very intentional. The places I go too, it's not random. Like nothing I do is really random. So that's something about me too. And since I was young, I grew up on a farm, and I wanted to realize my fullest potential, and I just took actions along that line. We can get more specific at different times, but I thought I would just kind of briefly share some of the things going on right now, and there's so much to be said. I have a lot. I do have a lot to share. Something I am experiencing right now is the bar that I've worked at since 2010 and 2014 through now. When I was in Paris, it started on fire. And the kitchen is totally destroyed. It needs to be gutted and everything. During the fire, a firefighter fell through a skylight and fell and was in critical condition, and he eventually died. And so I went to his funeral. Props to the fire department, police department. They put on a good funeral, and it's very powerful, and the message was a lot about gratitude and service to others. And It was really powerful, and it made me feel like while it was tragic, it's beautiful at the same time too, in that that's what he dedicated his life to, like serving other people. And committing to that higher purpose. And if you find that purpose in your life, not if, you should dedicate time to finding your purpose or assigning purpose to your life, and your life will have meaning. And because of that, your death is not a waste. You know what I mean? So that was powerful. And so I've had some more time. And just unfortunate situation, events, just everything. So that's something on my mind too right now, and that I'm experiencing. I forgot how much my social life revolves around this place. It's pretty interesting. But those are some things on my mind, and that is that. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day.